Well, hey y'all, and welcome to another episode of Hush Hush Taboo Talks. I'm Juju.
And I'm Shay.
Which y'all already know.
Y'all already know.
Life was lifing. If y'all saw the last post that we posted, you know, as life lifes.
As doing great.
Yeah.
Doing amazing.
Life, yeah, and
absolutely.
all kinds
and
of
being blessed.
Being blessed, being the beautiful, gorgeous women that we were put here to be.
Right.
You know, but there are curveballs. There are curveballs that come about, but then like if you're adaptable, then you know, you curve right back. Mm-hmm. So this episode, speaking of curveballs and all of that, y'all might have noticed that we went from one platform to another. I don't even want to give them the dignity of saying their name. Right. But it's where a lot of us get our music. Mm-hmm. And they actually shit on artists who are much more famous and have, you know, like Prince and shit. Like they shit on those artists too. Yeah. So why wouldn't they shit on independent artists?
Right.
This episode is related to that, and we're titling it The Artist's Struggle. Mm-hmm. And I don't like to claim certain words like struggle, but you know, there's certain roadblocks and obstructions mm-hmm. that entities, I'll say, mm-hmm. this could be organizations or humans or whatever, attempt to put in your way. So this episode is about addressing that. And of course, I guess we'll end with like some kind of solutions or, you know, just ways to mitigate and get through that.
Right.
I was watching, I love James Baldwin, you know, the writer, the gay activist, and all of the above. He was talking about the artist struggle and how, I'm referring to my notes, you know, when you're a writer or when you're an artist of any kind and when you're existing in such a space as capitalism, and I'm going to go through the unholy trinity, capitalism, white supremacy, and patriarchy. When you're in, I think all the other systems, and y'all can comment if I'm missing anything, I think that all the other systems, all the other negative attributes come from those three systems, I feel. So when you're operating in those things, James Baldwin was saying to be an artist means to be opposed to systems, period, because systems are necessarily inherently restrictive. So artists, the goal, I don't want to say job because job has a root word meaning persecution, and I'm not doing that either, but our work consists of broadening and expanding, not restriction and confinement. So we're naturally opposed to those, we're not opposed to it, it's just that those systems are opposed to our existence, I should say, because artists have always been a thing. Right. Systems to put artists down were created after art. You know, art and science are always, that's life. You know, art and life is comprised of science and art. I'm so excited, I'm spitting. My bad, y'all. So, you know, they ask you what you do for a living, and the artist is usually compelled to say something like, a 9-to-5 this or that, and or you feel guilty if you don't, you know, and then you have to explain, justify, and defend your existence. There's a lot of BS besides platforms like Spotify. Oops, there I said it. Besides platforms that go against you, there are other entities living in your close proximity that put you down because they don't understand. So lack of understanding begets fear, anger, judgment, all of the above. And all our artists really want to do is understand themselves, understand life, but really like namely understand themselves and address and uncover their pain so that we can perhaps mitigate other people's pain. And hopefully it's reciprocal and it's symbiotic so that it's not just a one-way, you know, one party's giving and one party's taking. It's supposed to be a transaction. More or less equal transaction.
Right.
So, I guess what I'm getting at is, you know, when you put forth the work of being an art, of observing, of telling real truths, painful truths that are painful for you to tell and then painful, of course, for others to hear, that comes with a lot of, I guess, liability. Like, you know, I'm throwing words out there, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's about sentiment and feeling, and words are just like trying to get at what artists do try to articulate by using words, what we're feeling. It's kind of an impossible task, though. Like, you know, whatever words you use doesn't equate to an experience. Like, but we try to impart into experiences. Then you get judgment from family, from friends, from platforms that monetize you and then demonetize you arbitrarily for no fucking reason. That got me a little hot, you know. So my point, I guess, is, long story short, how do you find the will to keep up what you have to do because you are an artist, whether you're an artist, a scientist, or whatever, you know what you are and you know what you have to do, and it pains you to not do it. How do you do it consistently and produce good qualitatively good work in the midst of these so-called obstructions, you know, and these entities that seem to go out of their way and make it their life's mission to obstruct you?
Right.
Am I making any sense at all?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm trying to articulate it, but, you know, artist or not.
Yeah, you are, definitely.
How do you feel? What's your experience with?
I feel like the most creative people in the world are the most misunderstood people in the world. Because we are open and we think out of the box, people mislabel us as insane, crazy, as for instance, from Einstein to Kanye West. You know, the most creative people that lives in their creative realm, and like you said, it's some form of therapy for us. When we create, we don't create for anybody else, we create for ourselves first. When we create for ourselves first, it's therapeutic. When I write for me first, and then when I put it out to the world, I'm like, somebody else like me can benefit from this, but I'm not expecting anybody to, if that makes sense. I'm not expecting you to like my work, if that makes sense. I put it out for myself because I love to do it.
It gives you life,
right?
Literally.
But when I see and hear other people saying, "Oh my God, you inspire me by reading this, or by listening to this, or by looking at this," that makes me feel, wow. Okay, so I'm not doing this just for me. I'm putting it out there creatively for other creatives to help them and help them motivate them and move forward and inspire. But a lot of us are misunderstood because we live outside of the normal bubble, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
we question everything. We are natural philosophers in a sense with our creative abilities, and sometimes it can be too much for people that don't want to think out of the box. And that can cause judgment on their part, you know, that can judge us, can try to put us down because they can't do what we do, or they want to do it, but they're scared to. So fear is another thing that people, you know, will try to look down on you or say, you can't do this because a 9-to-5 structured job is the way to go, and this is how you have to live your life. So there's some people out there that live by that structure, that has passions and creativity, but never ventured them or explored them further because they still live in the box of, this is what you should be doing. And this is what we programmed to do. And when you see somebody that's doing something that's out of the norm, that's out of the 9-to-5, that's out of the corporate field, you question it.
Right.
Yeah, you question it, you judge it, and you're like, oh, well, why they're doing this, they need to be doing this. And instead of worrying about yourself and pursuing your own passions and exploring your own creativity, you're worried about misjudging other people. So that's why I said the creative mind is the most misunderstood mind, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
Yeah, creation in itself, like having a baby, like, or you know, like a child, the bearing. Any creation at all is going to come with some, I don't want to say upheaval, but it's definitely it's something that's very felt deeply, and it's dynamic. It's up and down. It ebbs and flows. It's not just like easy peasy, easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. You know, like the cover girl is after you give the birth. You know, but like during it's ugly and bloody and shit, you have to dredge that up. And that's what like again, that's what our mission. I say mission, but I don't want to use that word, but because that's too heavy for what I'm trying to say. But it's our necessity, really, to express this. And then the other thing is we're expressing it on behalf of people. Like, you know, artists are the ultimate humanists, I feel. So we're expressing it on behalf of other people suffering. And since they don't get it, or they don't want to confront it, or for whatever reason, because they have to ask themselves that, they want to ostracize and demean because they don't understand it. It's like, but fool, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing it for me, like you said. I'm doing it for myself, but in the hopes of it reaching and touching other people perhaps inspiring them, planting a seed of open-mindedness, maybe. But it's up to the person to cultivate the seed.
Right, and also the ones that are not in tune to their creative side. I don't want to say they're not creative.
I feel like everyone's creative.
I feel like everyone has a gift.
Some kind of gift, right.
Some kind of gift, but they're not in tune to it because they block it out and they want to live that program lifestyle.
It's comfortable.
So it's comfortable.
That they think it's comfortable.
They think it's comfortable and they're stagnant. But I do feel like they had this mindset of you have to struggle to get what you deserve. You have to go through something to get something, and that I don't feel like that's the mindset that I need.
And it wasn't always the case.
It wasn't always the case.
You know, this is capitalism is relatively new compared to like how old the earth is. And, right. Job means persecution. You know, that comes with labor and suffering and shit.
And a majority of, you know, the $1 million salaries is from independent owned, you know, businesses, small businesses that turned into something else. So it's not from working the 9 to 5 and doing this and that. It's from your own ideas and, you know, your inventions, basically.
Taking the road less traveled, being unconventional, taking risks.
Taking risks, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, some of the millionaires did get handouts and shit. So
I mean, absolutely, but
I feel like it's impossible to earn that much on your own without putting other people, you know, without other people having some kind of bullshit to tend with. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's impossible
to have $100 million, billions.
I don't think it's impossible.
All right,
but
you sure? We'll talk about that.
I don't think it's impossible. Nothing is impossible for you to reach any amount of money in my mind. But you do need to network. Yes, you do need to, you know, get out there. You do need to put your word out there and your brand out there. But impossible to reach? I don't think it's impossible to reach. I do think it's
in this system. I feel like that what I mean is
I do think they try to make it hard for
if you amass that much. There's other people suffering. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about like the big names in capitalistic systems. Like if you amass that much, there's other people who are suffering that you know are suffering.
I mean, but that's been happening.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm just calling it out. Yeah. That's nothing new. That's what I'm saying though. This is part of the system that gets people talking about artists in a bad way.
But that's what happened in general. The struggling how artists. They put us in experiments and how they have us in certain areas and neighborhoods to make our mind not think. And now they have systems and things where you literally don't have to think anymore. They don't want a thinking society. They don't want a creative society. So they put out systems like OWL and AI and all this stuff so you don't have to think. And let that write for you and let that think for you, because you know you don't have to think anymore. Just sit back, relax, and let us do the creative work. And that type of mindset, you don't have to question anything anymore. Everything is done for you. Why question it? Because now they're taking that creative side from you and they're building a generation where they don't have to think and question anything anymore. And that gives them more control over people. It's true.
But it's sad because part of being human is having ingenuity. You know, since hunter-gatherers, since we were human, we had to be creative to survive.
Right.
And then to survive long enough to know how to master it to thrive. Because survival and thriving are different.
Right.
These things were going on for ages. We've been inventive, we've been creative, we've been ingenious forever.
Right.
I would think that the artificial intelligence should do the menial work. You know,
they're not going to allow that though.
But that's the thing. But they want live humans to do menial work that's thoughtless, that doesn't require much anything really, except for you to be there and be willing to submit yourself to slavery, to a different form of slavery. Because I'm not equating that to slavery has different forms.
Right.
It mutates and transforms just like everything else. And then they have the. I saw this one thing and I said, I wish that were mine. It said, while we have, and I can't remember who said it because I would credit them. While we have AI, could we just get AI to pick up all of the trash and the plastic in these oceans, or are they too busy writing screenplays? Does the AI have as their mission, before they die, to write screenplays? The AI has to be creative, and also you know that humans design AI,
of course.
So, you know,
the ones that want to keep the creative mindset silent.
But also, I mean, according to their agenda, it makes sense because only creatives and only artists are the only revolutionaries were creative. That's what I'm trying to say. Any change that happens, that's the whole point. Right. That it makes sense to their agenda.
Right. Exactly.
To silence. But I mean, if you're an art, like James Baldwin was saying, when someone says, what do you do? What's your job? And I hate that word, but like, what's your job? And it's like, well, what is it do I do?
That's so weird.
And it's hard to
hate
articulate.
That question.
It's the question.
Like, why do you need to ask me that?
Because
like, I feel like
because you want to evaluate how much respect you're going to give me or not. That's really what. And I heard someone say that too, and I was like, that's absolutely true.
Right.
That's the first thing that people fucking ask you. Like that's the first thing that we're conditioned to ask.
Right.
Is what do you do? Not who are you or what are you, or not even what do you do for fun or what do you do for a living, like to make your living. Like we're the only animals that have to work a job to get money to sustain life.
Right.
And that's the other thing. Like I'm working on certain projects, and at the risk of saying too much before it comes to fruition, I ain't gonna say too much about it. I'm gonna leave it alone. But it's a really heavy topic to, like, when did it happen that the human animal had to be on a fixed schedule, that was inherently against its own thriving. Like it none of it makes sense. You know, we used to eat when we were hungry. And then it's like, okay, well, breakfast has to be eaten between the hours of 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. and then after that it's lunch, and you have to have it's regimented, it's controlled. I think that's what James Baldwin was getting at. Artists have an issue with systems because they just arbitrarily go around like willy-nilly controlling people. Just the more control they have, the better. And there's no end in sight. Like there's no rationale behind their wanting control except for control. It's like I just need to control, and not for anyone's benefit, not for well-being, but for the sake of like power, what they call power. I don't call that power though. When you set up a game and rig it so that you only win and you only win and always win and the others don't. That's not power, that's cowardice. You know what I'm saying? It's more of a challenge when you're like, okay, if you're Serena Williams, you want to go up against a challenge. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to go up against someone you're going to eat alive. Or at least if you're a fan watching, you want to see competitive sports. Goodwill. You want everyone to be healthy. You don't want if someone's injured, then that's going to be an advantage to the other person. It's less interesting. So when you set up the game for yourself, when you try to sabotage people, it's not power, it's cowardice. That's what I'm saying. It is cowardice. Yeah. But it's not power. It's not power. It's true. So, but this is the artist struggle. So I feel like a lot of artists, a lot of comedians suffer from depression, and which is ironic because they make other people laugh. But I think Robin Williams was saying he would want everyone to laugh because he doesn't want anyone to feel as low as he felt in his lowest points. And I feel like that's a lot of comedians as well. Yeah. Like they hide through laughter. And and you have to know that underbelly, like the deepest of deep emotions, to bring it out and make fun of it to take power back. You know, because when laughter is disarming, you can disarm and take the power away from something that seems so heavy. And all of this is really like, I feel like people react to things in their head mostly. A lot of things aren't actually happening. They're happening more in your head than they're not. But the artist, again, our job is to distinguish what's in the head and what's a common shared experience. But some people don't want the artists to art. If that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like the expression, they don't like the expression of it because whatever. They have to do that own investigation. I'm thinking it has to do with jealousy, you know, if you don't cultivate your own creativity and lack of understanding. If I don't understand something, then I'm going to use a lot of my energy to research it and to debunk my understanding, or to flesh it out. I'm not going to judge it and demean it and put it down. That takes energy too. You could use that energy to enhance your information, yourself, your tribe, you know. And also, I think it's just tiring to go around judging shit that you don't know. Isn't it easier to ask questions and to be open-minded? I mean, I've never been closed-minded, so I don't know. But that's how I feel about it. I don't know. Yeah. I think this was a great topic. There's a lot more that could be said. I just feel
Part 2.
Yeah. These systems are ongoing, so our experiences are going to be ongoing until they're debunked. Not unless, but until. Right. Because it is dying of its own diability. I've never seen systems so outright and so, what's the word, toxic, that it also kills itself. But this is coming to an end, which means that the creatives have a blank slate to start up and to, you know, regroup and to recreate, to procreate, not literally, but to actually, to rise and to thrive. So here's to thriving, you know. Thank y'all for tuning in.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all artists, and I think everyone's an artist, but thank y'all who understand. Thank y'all who don't. Maybe we planted some seed of understanding. Feel free to like, subscribe, follow, and all of the things. Yes. Hush_podcast is the handle. Deuces. Love you all.
Love y'all.